Hi guys, Heidi Cooper here, functional medicine practitioner, licensed esthetician from Skin Inside Out. Today I want to share 13 signs and symptoms that you may have food sensitivities. So many years ago, when I started down this path of food sensitivities and removed some items from my own diet, I was amazed at how many things subsided once I took some of these offending items out of the diet. And a lot of them are the symptoms on this list. So they're not all perceivable digestive symptoms that you would associate with food sensitivities being like digestive issues per se, but it's amazing how that inflammatory response in the body can have so many different effects and signs and symptoms for so many different people. So I wanted to share what some of those were today, so that if you're suffering with some of those, you might want to dig a little bit deeper and take a little closer look and see if maybe some of the foods that you're eating are contributing to some of these things. So I laid out 13. There's probably actually more than that on this list, so just bear with me and I'm going to run through the list real quickly. But if you're having a lot of water retention and holding a lot of fluid, that can be a symptom. Constipation, diarrhea, change in bowel habits, leaky gut, and bloating, those are all of those perceivable digestive symptoms that may be happening as a result of food sensitivities. Nasal congestion, a lot of times after people eat something, they'll notice that they're having to blow their nose quite a bit and even clear the throat a little bit because that nasal congestion is dripping back into the throat. So that can be a sign. Rashes, itchiness, skin problems. We've covered this a bunch here before where, acne, eczema, dermatitis, rosacea, psoriasis, all of those can be tied to different food sensitivities. Headaches, insomnia, autoimmune disease, and when you're getting different food cravings, those can be signs as well. And fatigue, this was a big one for me years ago. I would eat some of my offending items, which happened to be gluten was a big one for me, and dairy, and I just felt like I needed to take a nap. I could barely keep my eyes open. I felt like I was drugged. So fatigue can be a really big one. Dark circles or bags under the eyes, I've covered that before here. We see that a lot with dairy and gluten, that those can be issues there. Depression and mood swings. This was so interesting to me because before I had taken some of these offending items for me personally out of my diet, I had just been kind of down. And typically, exercise can really make a big difference there, but that even wasn't really having the same effect that it always had been. And it's just because when we have some of these food sensitivities, this inflammation can cause problems with inflammatory response even in the brain. So that's where the depression and mood swings can come from. And then muscle joints or muscle aches and joint pain. That's another one for me. I would get out of my bed all the way many years ago, back in my 30s, and the bottoms of my feet would just hurt. I felt like I was in my 90s, and my hands just hurt all the time. So we know that that can be reflective of some of these food sensitivities as well. And just going back to some of the autoimmune stuff that I shared before, if you've got any sort of autoimmune challenges going on, you definitely want to kind of clue in as to how your body's responding to some potentially offending items. And that can look different for different people. I've done different videos on that before. Gluten, dairy, sugar, those are the big culprits. I know corn, eggs, those can be issues for people as well. But really the best way to really take a look and see what's going on is to do a food journal and really start to be aware of how some of these foods are affecting your body, because when it's a sensitivity, it can take up to 72 hours for your body to have that inflammatory response. So it can take a while. If you've eaten something and several days later you start to have this response, or the response is more pronounced after that time, you don't always make that connection. So there's where food journaling and food logging really comes into play and can be super helpful there. So I just wanted to lay out a number of different symptoms that can be as a result of some food sensitivities for some people that you wouldn't always necessarily associate with what you're eating. It's so powerful. So just wanted to share that information with you today. And if you're suffering with some of those things, I really encourage you to dig a little bit deeper and make that connection for yourself. And there's all kinds of ways to heal these food sensitivities, but initially taking them out and lowering that inflammatory burden on the body is a great place to start. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if this information was helpful for you, please like and share it with somebody that you know that could benefit from it. So health and happiness, have a super fantastic day. Thanks so much.